The shuttle broke through the atmosphere of Zerther Prime, the political heart of the Galactic Union. From the window, Captain Alara Voss watched the surface rise to meet them. The city stretched out in metallic towers and glowing skylanes, built by dozens of alien civilizations. The sky was a soft green haze, filtered through a planetary shield that never dropped, not even for allies. Inside the ship, her team sat quietly. Veterans of diplomatic missions, all of them. Some were former soldiers. Others were scholars, analysts, or negotiators. Every one of them had been chosen for their calm, their control, and their ability to endure humiliation without breaking. That was Earth's role now, the patient one, the peacekeeper. Touchdown in 30 seconds, the pilot said. Alara stood. She smoothed her gray uniform. No medals, no display of power, only the silver insignia of Earth's diplomatic security. Her short black hair was neatly tied back, and her dark eyes were calm, but alert. She'd been through worse than this. Still, something felt different this time. The ramp opened. The team stepped out onto the landing pad. No welcome committee waited for them. No fanfare, no greeting, just a bored-looking Threx officer tapping on a data tablet. Captain Voss of Earth, Alara said clearly. The officer glanced up. You're 2 hours late. We were given a revised flight path. Not my problem. He handed her a map file. Your delegation has been moved to Complex 17. Alara paused. That's in the lower ring. Is it? The officer said, already turning away. She didn't respond. She only nodded and led her team to the transport pod waiting nearby. Complex 17 was meant for minor species. Earth used to have a suite in the central hall, near the core. This was a message. As they traveled, the city passed by in silence. Alara saw flags and emblems from across the galaxy, Dozari swarms, Volari choirs, Koran guilds, but Earth's emblem was missing. Not even a corner banner. They arrived at Complex 17. The building was old and dim. The lights flickered. The rooms were clean but cold, with no AI systems, no comfort units, no connection to the central data grid. It was a box to keep them out of the way. Lieutenant Arun spoke first. This is deliberate. I know, Alara replied. Orders. We endure. For now. That night, the summit opened. Alara and her team entered the Great Union Hall, late, because they had not been informed of the scheduled change. Hundreds of delegates stared as they walked to their seats at the very back. Archon Trellex stood at the center podium. Tall and elegant, with polished black skin and glowing yellow eyes, the Threx leader spoke smoothly, his voice echoing through the chamber. Let us begin by thanking those who truly contribute to peace, he said. His gaze swept over the crowd and skipped over the humans. And let us remember that peace must be earned, not demanded. The chamber gave polite applause. Alara sat quietly. She said nothing. Her face did not change. But inside, she felt the heat build. After the session, a Volari delegate approached her. The creature's translucent skin pulsed with soft blue light. Captain Voss, it said gently, your people are still adjusting? We're used to change, she said. Of course. Still, many here wonder why Earth stays. You receive so little. She looked at him. Because leaving would mean something worse. The Volari tilted its head. And if worse comes anyway? Alara didn't answer. Back in their quarters, the team debriefed. The session had been clear. Earth had no voice here. Proposals submitted by the human delegation were missing from the docket. Speaking time was cut to 5 minutes, less than the Mikari fungi, who communicated through scent. We log it all, Alara said. Everything. Every insult. Every omission. Do not respond. Do not react. But why not? Arun asked. They mock us. They erase us. What are we waiting for? We're waiting, Alara said slowly, because when we respond, we will not be ignored. There was a long silence. Then she looked out the narrow window. Ships moved like stars across the dark sky, glowing in the upper lanes. The galaxy thought humans had forgotten how to burn. They hadn't. They had simply chosen not to for now. Zerther Prime rose with the light of twin suns, but there was no warmth in Complex 17. The walls of Earth's assigned quarters hummed faintly with poor wiring. No AI assistants greeted the humans. No auto-service systems provided updates or messages. Alara Voss stood in the center of the main briefing room, watching a broken display screen flicker with static. She turned to Lieutenant Arun. Still no summit schedule? He shook his head. It's being rerouted. The mainframe claims we don't have clearance. Even the Koran larvae got clearance, said Analyst Dima, eyes narrowed over her data pad. This is coordinated. They're not hiding it anymore. Alara nodded once. Good. That makes it easier to document. She moved to the central console. The system was outdated, but functional. She opened the daily report log and began entering notes. Session entry time revoked. Speaking rights reduced. Location downgraded. Security escort removed. Every detail mattered, because Earth would not be caught off guard again. Later that day, they arrived at the Union Hall late, again. The Council had changed the meeting time and failed to notify Earth's delegation. As Alara and her team entered quietly through the rear entrance, murmurs spread through the chamber. Laughter flickered in alien languages. A few delegates turned to look. Most didn't bother. Archon Trellex was already speaking. We welcome the Valari's proposal on trade expansion and the Dozari's efforts on bioethics. And, of course, he said with a smirk, we're pleased the humans have joined us. The chamber chuckled. Alara said nothing. She took her seat. When it was Earth's turn to speak, the floor AI ignored her voice command. The microphone is inactive, she said calmly. Technical error, replied a Threx technician without looking up. We've had 6 technical errors this week, Dima muttered. Alara didn't respond. She simply stood there for the full 5 minutes allotted to Earth, speaking clearly to the silent air. Back at Complex 17, the team gathered in the common room. Frustration simmered beneath the surface. We shouldn't accept this, Arun said. We're not weak. We're not lesser. I know, Alara replied. They're trying to break us. They can't, but they think they can. Alara looked at her team. Then we'll let them think that. For now. The words had barely left her mouth when the lights flickered, then died. Emergency backup kicked in a second later, dim orange glow filling the rooms. Dima checked the systems. Power cut. Local grid failure, allegedly. Alara's comm buzzed. A message came through. No voice, only text. Unauthorized electromagnetic interference detected near Earth delegation. Source. Unknown. Investigation pending. Later that night, a small explosion shook the hall near their quarters. Alara and her team rushed into the corridor. Smoke curled through the vents. Security drones circled above. A cleaning droid had detonated outside their supply room. No one was hurt, but it wasn't an accident. Union security officers, none of them human, arrived late and uninterested. The lead officer scanned the debris and shrugged. Faulty unit. Happens. That's the 3rd faulty unit we've encountered this cycle, Dima said. Would you like to file a report? We already have, Alara said flatly. And we'll keep filing them. Every incident. Every insult. Every failure to protect a member species. The officer didn't respond. He walked away. In the days that followed, the pattern continued. Earth's trade agreements were quietly blocked. Transit permits were delayed. Their access to diplomatic data was revoked. Their proposals never reached the council floor. Other delegations avoided them. Some out of fear. Others out of shame. A few tried to speak privately, offering sympathy in low voices, behind closed doors. We know what they're doing, said a Mechari representative, her voice trembling. But if we speak out, we'll be next. Alara didn't argue. She understood. This wasn't just about Earth. It was about fear, control, power. But what the Union didn't understand was that humans had been through worse. Much worse. Their tolerance wasn't born from weakness. It was forged through centuries of fire. On the 7th day, Alara stood alone on the upper platform of Complex 17, watching the skyline. Below her, the city glowed with activity. Ships passed. Lights danced across the towers of the Threx Dominion's embassy. She spoke quietly to no one. We've bled for peace. Swallowed pride. Buried anger. They think we forgot how to feel it. How to act on it. Behind her, Arun stepped forward. How much longer, Captain? Alara didn't turn around. Not yet. But soon. She didn't need to raise her voice. The cold wind carried the weight of her words. The sky above them was silent. But something had shifted. Earth's silence was growing heavy, ready to break. The message came during the night cycle. No alarms. No warning. Just a quiet ping on Alara's console, a direct communication from Earth's command core. Classified. Urgent. She opened it alone. The text was brief. New Mars colony destroyed. Suspected orbital strike. Casualties. 472 confirmed dead. 1,200 missing. Investigation ongoing. Civilian target. Transmission ends. Alara sat still for a long time. She read the words again. They didn't change. New Mars wasn't just a colony. It was a symbol. One of Earth's most peaceful outposts, farming, science, art. A planet with no military base, no weapons, and no enemies. And now it was gone. She rose and called a full team meeting. The others were already gathering, pulled from their rooms by instinct and unease. When they saw Alara's face, the room fell silent. New Mars has been hit, she said. They're calling it an orbital strike. Civilian loss is high. Too high. Gasps echoed in the room. Arun's face twisted in disbelief. Dima's hands shook as she accessed her network tab. There was no warning. No alert. That colony was unarmed. I know, Alara said. We don't know who yet. But I don't believe this was a mistake. Dima worked fast. No emergency transmissions made it to the Union grid. That's not just sabotage. That's a total communication blackout. They didn't want anyone to hear the screams, Arun said bitterly. Alara nodded once. Pack what you need. I'm going there. Alone. The Union Council refused official transport, citing lack of evidence and investigative protocols. So Alara took her team's shuttle under Earth clearance and flew to New Mars herself. The journey took 4 hours. When she arrived, the silence of the planet was louder than any alarm. She walked through ruins. Buildings were gone, some melted, some turned to ash. Roads had vanished beneath blast marks. A once thriving colony now looked like a graveyard. Smoke hung in the air, mixing with dust. The scent of burning plastic and scorched metal clung to her skin. Alara moved slowly, documenting everything with her ocular lens. She stopped at what had once been a school. Half of a child's drawing was still clinging to the wall, faded stars and a smiling Earth emblem. Dima's voice crackled through her comm, picking up a strange signal in the wreckage north of your position. It's weak, but old tech. Not ours. Alara made her way through collapsed structures and blackened dirt until she reached the signal's origin, the remains of an old power relay. She crouched down and cleared the debris with her gloves. Underneath, scorched but intact, was a piece of hardware, small, flat, and marked with alien script. Not Union issue. Not Earth. Threx tech. She stared at it. She didn't speak. She simply recorded the find, logged its position, and wrapped it in a sealed container. They'd made it look like an accident. Like no one would ever know. But now she did. Back on Zerther Prime, Alara re-entered the Union Hall with slow, measured steps. Her uniform was dusty. Her boots still carried traces of New Mars ash. Trellex was speaking again, his voice smooth and calm. And while tragedies are always regrettable, we must be cautious of assigning blame too quickly. False accusations serve no one. The chamber hummed with agreement. Alara walked to the front of the hall. She didn't wait for her turn. She stood there and lifted the sealed container high. I found this on New Mars, she said. It belongs to the Threx Dominion. The hall grew quiet. Trellex's eyes narrowed. Captain Voss, the council is in session. You killed civilians, Alara said, her voice calm. You struck a peaceful colony. Then you blamed us. Lied to this chamber. Hid behind protocol. Trellex laughed softly. Proof is often misinterpreted. Perhaps it was planted. You humans are known for emotional conclusions. This isn't emotion, Alara replied. It's evidence. The speaker of the council, a shriveled Valari elder, raised a trembling hand. Captain Voss, this matter will be reviewed through standard channels. Alara didn't argue. She left the container on the podium and turned to leave. Back in Complex 17, her team waited. They'll bury it, Arun said. Yes, Alara replied. They won't punish the Threx. No. So what do we do now? Alara looked out the window, where the Threx embassy glowed like a monument of pride. They wanted to see how far we'd been, she said. They've gotten their answer. And her voice dropped to a whisper. They won't like what comes next. The sun never truly set on Zerther Prime. Its twin stars cast an endless glow that left the skies in a permanent twilight. But inside Complex 17, the light was dim. Alara Voss sat alone in the meeting room, the only light coming from a single data screen. It displayed rotating images of the New Mars attack, flattened structures, scorched land, lifeless streets. She had reviewed them dozens of times. Each time the ache in her chest deepened, but so did her resolve. She wasn't just a captain anymore. She was a witness. Behind her, the door hissed open. Lieutenant Arun entered, his expression sharp with anger. They've released the council's report. Alara turned. Let me guess. They found no direct evidence tying the Threx to the attack. They're calling it an unresolved dispute over land rights. They say Earth overextended its claim. A farming colony, Alara said quietly. They're calling it a land dispute over vegetables. Arun clenched his jaw. How long do we pretend this is diplomacy? We're not pretending. We're recording. He lowered his voice. Earth is demanding a response. Civilians are protesting. People are calling for withdrawal from the Union. There's even talk of reactivating the defense fleets. Alara stood and walked to the window. The view overlooked the lower city, its towers crawling with life and traffic. In the distance, the Threx embassy rose like a spear of obsidian, tall, sharp, untouchable. She had hoped diplomacy would be enough. That reason would overcome pride. But now, she was sure. The Threx Dominion didn't want peace. They wanted obedience. And the Council wanted convenience. She turned back to Arun. Have the files been prepared? He nodded. All incidents logged, with evidence. Every act of sabotage. Every insult. The attack on New Mars. The failure of Council response. Send them to Command Corps. Log transmission to my authorization only. Yes, Captain. And the ships. Standing by. Cloaked. Waiting for your word. She nodded. Not yet. But soon. That evening, Alara met with Earth's ambassador, Jonah Rell, in a quiet chamber at the edge of the summit complex. He was an older man, gray-haired and calm, but his voice carried the weight of his office. You've done all we asked, he said. You stayed patient. You gathered proof. You gave them every chance. I thought it would matter, Alara said. I believed they wanted peace. Rell sighed. Some did. But most wanted power without resistance. We were too quiet for too long. They forgot who we were. She looked him in the eye. Then maybe it's time we remind them. He leaned forward. Are you ready to be the one who wins the silence? If I don't, she said, someone else will. And they won't ask first. He gave a slow nod. Then we support you. Do what must be done. The next day, the Union Grand Summit reconvened. Delegates from hundreds of worlds filled the chamber. Trellex stood at the center again, speaking with practiced grace. We must move past these distractions, he said, smiling faintly. We cannot let emotional species disrupt the work of the Union. We mourn the loss of New Mars, of course, but we must also be wise. Accusations based on grief are dangerous. Alara rose from her seat. I request the floor. The speaker frowned. Captain Voss, this session is for full delegates. I represent Earth Security Command. I have authority. A long pause. Then, with a sigh, the speaker gestured. Granted. Briefly, Alara walked to the center. Her steps were slow and steady. When she reached the podium, she turned to face the crowd. I am Captain Alara Voss of Earth. I came here in peace. I sat through your insults. I endured your sabotage. I buried our dead and brought you proof of murder. You ignored it. She lifted a small device and activated the hologram. Images filled the air, New Mars before and after the attack. The Threx tech she recovered. Logs of blocked transmissions. Records of mockery, neglect, and silence. Earth has shown restraint. You mistook that for weakness. You laughed when we swallowed our pride. You called us emotional, unstable, primitive. She stepped closer, her voice rising just enough to silence the murmurs. We are done swallowing. We are done waiting. Above the chamber, alarms began to beep softly, quiet, confused. Delegates looked up. The roof display changed, showing a live feed from orbit. Hundreds of ships had appeared around Zerther Prime. Sleek, dark, and massive. The banners of Earth visible on every hull. Earth Defense Fleet, Alara said simply. Fully armed. Fully cloaked until now. Not here to fire, unless provoked. Here to be seen. Chaos erupted. Trellex stood, furious. This is an act of war. Alara turned to him. No. This is a reminder. The speaker shouted for order. The chamber lit with flashing lights. Delegates argued, shouted, and pointed. Some tried to call security. Others sat frozen in shock. Alara raised her voice over them all. You wanted Earth to forget who we were. You wanted us to disappear quietly. We will not. From this moment forward, every insult has a cost. Every lie has a consequence. And every life lost will be remembered. She stepped away from the podium. We asked for peace. You chose to spit on it. Now you will see the other side of silence. And without waiting for permission, she walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the Union cracked. The news of Earth's fleet hanging in low orbit spread across Zerther Prime like a wildfire. Within hours, every screen, data scroll, and comm feed buzzed with alerts. Delegates panicked. Meetings were postponed. Security protocols doubled. No one expected it. Earth, the quiet one. The peacekeeper. The species that had swallowed 100 insults and walked away each time, now filled the skies with warships. Inside the Threx embassy, Archon Trellex paced in silence. His long fingers tapped against the data console. The usual smugness on his face was gone. He was calculating, trying to understand how Earth had hidden a fleet so large, so close, for so long. His advisor entered. We've confirmed it's real. Hundreds of vessels. Fully armed. Advanced cloaking. We never saw them arrive. Trellix clenched his jaw. Of course we didn't. They've been planning this for years. Waiting for the right moment. Should we begin defense protocols? He paused. No, not yet. They haven't fired. They're trying to scare us. But doubt lingered in his voice. At Complex 17, Alara stood before her team. The message was sent, she said. Now we wait. Do you think they'll listen? Arun asked. No, she replied. But they'll remember. She turned to Dima. Status on the fleet? All ships holding position. Defense codes are active but locked unless you authorize. There's chatter on the council feeds. Panic, mostly. A few trying to act brave. Some want to negotiate. And the Threx? They're silent, which means they're thinking. Alara nodded. Let them. She walked to the center of the room and looked up at the ceiling as if she could see through it, through stone, through clouds, all the way to the orbiting wall of steel above. For the first time in a long time, Earth wasn't ignored. It was feared. The emergency summit was held 2 hours later. Not in the Grand Hall, but in a smaller, more secure chamber deep beneath the surface. Only high-ranking officials and species heads were allowed. Alara was one of them now, not by invitation, but by necessity. The doors opened. She entered alone. The room fell quiet. Trellix sat near the head of the table, flanked by 2 Threx guards. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. Captain Voss, the speaker began, voice trembling. This council demands an explanation for your fleet's arrival. The balance of the Union has been disrupted. The balance was already broken, Alara said. You just didn't notice. Or you didn't care. Trellix leaned forward. You're threatening war. I'm showing you we are not defenseless. We are not blind. We are not weak. He sneered. A bluff. Nothing more. Alara stared at him. Do you want to test that theory? Silence. Then she activated her console. The chamber screen lit up with a feed from Earth Command. One of Earth's remote assault platforms powered up in real time. Its targeting systems locked onto an empty moon near Threx space. She gave the order, Fire 1. The beam struck silently from orbit. The moon shattered into dust and flame in seconds. A tremor ran through the floor as the image faded to black. Gasps filled the room. One delegate collapsed in their seat. Trellix stood slowly, his skin pulsing with deep red veins, a Threx sign of fear. You've gone too far, he hissed. No, Alara said. You did. When you murdered civilians and called it politics. The speaker stood. We must de-escalate. Alara turned to the chamber. Then act. Remove Trellix from the council. Launch a true investigation into New Mars. Make reparations. Or this summit will be your last. Trellix looked at the others, expecting support. But no one spoke. Even his own allies were silent. That evening, word spread. Archon Trellix had been detained by his own government. The Threx Dominion declared it an internal matter. But everyone knew. It was a surrender in disguise. A new message appeared on the public channels from the speaker. The Union recognizes Earth's grievance. Formal proceedings will begin. We must not forget the cost of silence. In Complex 17, Alara stood with her team. They watched the stars from the rooftop. It worked, Arun said. No, Alara replied. It wasn't a victory. It was a warning. What now? We watch. We wait. And we remember. She looked up again, but this time there was no need to imagine. The ships were there. Proud. Visible. Quiet as the grave. Zerther Prime had never been this quiet. The streets were still full. The skies still busy with ships and glowing lanes. But the usual energy, the noise, the arrogance of power, it had vanished. Across the planet, on every screen and in every language, 2 words echoed from system to system. Earth remembers. The footage of the moon's destruction played in loops, first in whispers, then in headlines. A moon erased in silence, without warning or resistance. One shot, one message. The galaxy hadn't just seen Earth's strength. It had felt it. Inside the main Union chamber, the council sat in stunned silence. The speaker, frail and shaking, had not left his chamber in days. Delegates once loud and mocking now whispered behind closed doors. Some wept. Some packed to leave. Some simply waited for someone else to speak first. Alara Voss stood again at the center of it all, but she didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She had become the voice that changed the Union without shouting. "Where is Trellex?" she asked calmly. A Corran envoy, always proud and sharp-tongued, answered softly. "Detained. The Dominion says he acted without full authorization. They will not fight." Of course they wouldn't. Not after what they'd seen. Another delegate, Valari, glowing faint blue, spoke next. "Earth's actions were shocking, but clear. We see you now." Alara didn't smile. She simply nodded. "That's all we ever wanted." One by one, the other species began to speak. They didn't apologize, not directly, but they shifted their tone. The disrespect, the condescension, the smug indifference, they were gone. In their place stood a careful, hesitant diplomacy, the kind that came from caution and fear. Back at Complex 17, the old halls felt different. The walls were still cracked, the lights still dim, but now, guards stood outside the door. Union security. Their faces serious, their weapons ready. Not protecting the humans out of kindness, but out of awareness. Inside, Alara and her team gathered around a single display. It showed Earth's fleet still in orbit. Still quiet. Still waiting. Dima looked at her. "We've just rewritten our place in the galaxy." "No," Alara said. "We've reminded them of what they chose to forget." Arun leaned forward. "You think they'll listen now? They'll pretend to. For a while. Then they'll test us again. It's what power does." "So what do we do?" Alara looked around the room. Her voice was steady. "We stay ready. We stay calm. And we never forget what they're capable of when they think we're not watching." She turned to the console and opened the direct channel to Earth Command. "Fleet holds position. No further action required. Initiating withdrawal protocol, gradual, silent. Let them think." The reply came at once. "Understood. Earth hears you." In the days that followed, the Union reshaped itself, quietly, carefully. Earth's proposals were reviewed first. Diplomatic access was restored. Trade agreements passed. And in the council chamber, the human seat was moved, front row, beside the speaker. Trellex's name vanished from records. The Threx Dominion sent a new representative, young, cautious, and very polite. The official story called it a misunderstanding. No one believed it, but no one corrected it either. Fear didn't need loud speeches. It only needed memory. On the last day of the summit, Alara stood alone on the same rooftop where she once stared into the city, unsure if peace could survive another insult. Now she stood as the one who had stopped the spiral. Not with war, but with a clear message. She heard the soft footsteps behind her. It was Arun. "It's done," he said. She nodded. "Feels strange. We didn't fire on a city. We didn't fight in the streets. But it still feels like we won something." Alara shook her head. "Not a win. Just a pause." Arun looked at her. "And if they try again?" She turned to him, eyes steady. "Then they'll remember this day. And so will we." Above them, Earth's ships began to vanish, one by one, cloaking, disappearing into the quiet. Not retreating, just waiting. The summit ended without ceremony. No final speech. No celebration. No grand gesture. Delegates departed in silence, avoiding eye contact. Their luxury transports lifted off one by one, vanishing into the sky. Zerther Prime, once loud with power and politics, now felt like a place catching its breath after a close escape. Earth's flag, once left out of the welcome halls, was now displayed clearly, equal in size to the others. Some said it was a sign of respect. Others called it fear. Alara Voss didn't care what they called it. She only cared that it wouldn't be taken down again. At Complex 17, the halls were quiet. Alara's team packed in silence. They were tired, not from action, but from restraint. The kind of exhaustion that came from holding back when every part of you wanted to act. Dima closed the last equipment case. "Our transport is ready. Earth has cleared us for return." Arun stood by the window, watching the ships disappear into the sky. "You think the silence will last?" "No," Alara replied. "But they'll remember it." She moved to the central console one last time. Her fingers moved over the screen slowly, carefully. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "Mission complete. No casualties. Message delivered. Union stabilized for now." A moment later, a reply appeared in text. "Acknowledged. Earth thanks you. History will remember this day." She closed the channel. "Let's go home," she said. Their ship left Zerther Prime without an escort. It didn't need one. As they passed through orbit, the last of Earth's fleet slipped away behind them, cloaking again in perfect silence. No war had started. No battle had been fought. But something had changed. A shift felt across systems, across species, across minds. The humans were no longer the quiet ones. Back on Earth, the world watched their return in silence. Alara stepped off the ship and was greeted not by cheers, but by calm respect. No cameras. No crowd. Just a small circle of leaders who understood what she had done, what it had cost her. Ambassador Jonah Rell shook her hand. You carried the weight. And you didn't drop it. It was never just mine, she said. It belongs to everyone who watched the galaxy forget who we are. He nodded. And now we prepare, Alara replied. Because fear fades. And when it does, they'll test us again. Weeks passed. The galaxy returned to motion. Trade resumed. Meetings restarted. The Union released a statement praising renewed unity and clarified diplomacy. But beneath it all, the memory lingered. Trellix was gone. His name erased from Threx records, his actions called rogue. But no one believed it. His face still appeared in underground feeds, always with the words silenced. Other species whispered of Earth's fleet, of the weapon that destroyed a moon in a single breath. The story changed with each telling. Some said Earth had a weapon that could erase planets. Others claimed the ships were ghosts, impossible to track, impossible to stop. Earth said nothing, and that silence spoke louder than any broadcast. Alara sat at the edge of a small garden atop Earth's Union embassy. Wind moved through the trees. She watched a child, no older than 10, draw stars into the dirt. Are they real? The child asked, pointing up. Yes, Alara said softly. And they're watching. Are we still in danger? She smiled faintly. Not today. The child nodded, satisfied, and kept drawing. Alara leaned back, eyes on the sky. We were never weak, she whispered. We were just waiting. And now, no species in the galaxy would forget the moment when Earth, quiet, patient, and endlessly tolerant, finally stood tall and reminded them all.